everybody, I'm Carol Billing and I'm your instructor for Education 202, and this is the traditional section, which means we'll meet on Tuesdays for a little bit less than an hour. And it never fails that when I try to shoot a video from home when my kids are at school, it's nice and quiet, that the dogs begin to play in the background. And so I've shot this a couple of times, and every time they start playing in the middle, so I'm just going to power through and bear with me. And I'm sorry if you hear like whatever in the background. It's just the dogs. Let's just go. Okay, so each week I have the Monday date written so you can keep track of where you are. And then this folder is really a sub-page in this website, carolbilling.weebly.com, which I showed you in the Blackboard tour. So this will correspond to the sub-page on that website. Your field task just tells you where you should be as far as developing your observation hours. So the first week, I just want you to decide what school you want to observe at. And then the next 2 weeks, you're going to print out the forms, get a meeting with the principal, and kind of get things set up. You can always do this earlier or quicker. I mean, if you can have it set up in the first week of classes and you want to start observing the second week, more power to you. I mean, it's just going to make it easier if you can spread out your time. And I recommend about 5 or 6 hours a week and then spread it out through about 5 weeks so that you have time to read stuff in the textbook that we're talking about in 201, and then look for that during your observation hours in 202. So that's why I have these sort of spread out here in the middle. So you'll set everything up, and I give you a couple weeks to do that. I'm happy to work with you to do that if you need help. What I'm going to ask you is to tell me the school you want to observe at and the principal's name and email. And then I have an email that I send to them. Okay, they're going to the other room now, so that's helpful. I have an email that I can send to the principal that usually gets a response in a day or two. If I will send it and say, I have a student who's trying to find an observation site. It's really important that when you're talking to principals, you're clear about the fact you're looking for an observation, not a student teaching position, because they're two very different things. Observation is generally principals like observations, especially if they've already had a CWI student, because our students are awesome. And we go in, we observe, we usually will help the teacher if the teacher would like us to. Some of the teachers ask you if you'd like to teach some, and so you get some teaching practice. So it's such a great opportunity, and it's really supportive of the teachers and the school. Student teaching is not so much. It's a lot more work on the teacher. The teacher has to have certain qualifications to be a master teacher, to coach somebody who's almost ready to be a teacher. The school, there's financial obligations. The master teacher gets paid for overseeing a student teacher. In our situation, they don't, but you generally will help them in class if they would like help. It's totally fine if you just sit and observe, but it's also completely fine if they ask you to work with a small group or work with a student or something. So anyway, when you're going in to talk to the principal, be very clear that this is an observation you're looking for, not a student teaching. And that will put their mind at ease. They'll be a lot more receptive as soon as they realize what they're being asked. Okay, so so you work on that the first couple of weeks. The faster you set it up, the better. Do your observations, spread them out. Don't do 30 hours in 1 week. And there's pros and cons to doing like an 8-hour day. If you work full time and you're going to take 4 days off, like 4 Fridays off, and do your observations, Fridays are not the best day to observe because typically they're not a strong teaching day. Like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, those are your kind of, I think, well, I'll be honest, when I taught high school, those were the days when I put out new curriculum or new subject matter, and then Thursday and Friday was more like practicing what I had taught earlier in the week, generally speaking. So if you're going to do that format, there are benefits to seeing the school day from 8 a.m. to 3. I tend to like, though, like a 2 or 3 hour chunk at a time better. Like a 3 hour I think is really good because it gives you enough time to get comfortable there. And so you do 2-3 hours a week for 5 weeks and you're done. So that's kind of what I have set up here, but you can, anyway, you can slice and dice it however you want, whatever fits your schedule. I would try to stay away from always observing on a Friday. Okay, then you'll put that into a summary assignment. Oh, so let me step back here. I'm sorry. Everything in this column are your tasks. So the first week you're going to do introductions, review the syllabus. Oh, this is the class, traditional class. We'll do this in class. Sorry. Okay, so you only have 2 assignments in Blackboard. Everything else we'll do in class. 1 credit class, very simple. I do not make this super difficult. 1 credit, not 3. We'll do all of this in our first class, and then the next 2 weeks we're going to I'm going to work with students who are having difficulty getting observation sites lined up. So kind of one-on-one work. So if you come in the second week of class and you're all set to go, I may not need to see you the 3rd week. And then the 4th week is where we really start meeting and talking about what you're seeing. Okay, so during that class, we're going to be talking about classroom management for 2 weeks, curriculum for 2 weeks, technology for 2 weeks, and then diversity for 2 weeks. And we're also going to talk about the field experience summary assignment. Okay. And then we'll start presenting those summary assignments. And really in that summary assignment, you're going to be talking about where you went, who you observed, what were the pros and cons of your observations, and, good things you saw that you liked and things you saw that you would never do. Then we're going to make sure you get your time card in, bring that to class. We'll be finishing summary assignments because these take a good bit of time, and your class I think is totally full, like 30 students or something. So it'll take 4 class meetings because we only meet once a week and it's for 50 minutes. So it takes 4 weeks to get through those. And then finals week I use for makeup work and individual advising. So that's kind of the whole class in a very brief overview. Most important is that you come to class every Tuesday for an hour. I hope that you were able to put other classes around it. If you weren't and you were only driving in for one 50-minute class, would you just talk to me about that, and we'll see. Maybe we can Zoom you in, or and Zoom is like a go-to meeting. I'm not opposed to doing that. I've done that with other students. I just really hate it if you, if it's just one class and you're driving in for one class. Usually they don't stack them that way. They do 201 and 202 in the same day, back to back. This is the first semester where I've ever had 202 as a separate class on one day. So like I drive in just to teach one 50-minute class, which is fine because I have other stuff to do and I have an office and all of that, but you may not. So, all right, I have spoken far longer than necessary. We can cover any questions you have in class, but this should give you a good overview of your course calendar, and you got to meet my dog, so like that's awesome. Not really, especially if you're not a dog person. Okay, see you soon. Bye.